Stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take a moment of silence. As we come to order, please silence all of your cell phones, and welcome for those who are here and for those who are watching this morning. We'll start with the roll call with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens.
Here.
Commissioner Culbertson.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Here.
And I'm here. Okay. We have no public comment today, so we'll move on to administrative business. Mr. Lautry, do you have something for us?
Commissioners, just wanted to remind you that there is an open house today at the Crisis Stabilization Unit, and I believe the ribbon cutting's at 1 o'clock.
Commissioner Stevens, do you have anything? Commissioner Smith? Nothing today? Okay. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that needs to be removed from the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion is second. Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Culbertson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay. Formal board action. We need to consider a motion to adopt the Leavenworth County 2023 Solid Waste Committee member changes. Tammy, do you have anything that you would like to say before we... Mike? You need to come up if you're going to talk there, Michael.
Nice try, Mike.
Having a flashback.
The Solid Waste Committee, I am Mike Spickelmeyer, the chairperson of the Solid Waste Committee. The Solid Waste Committee serves all the municipalities as well as the unincorporated parts of Leavenworth County, and it's our pleasure to work with the county and the other cities, and with the Solid Waste Director, Tammy, doing a great job.
Thank you.
Commissioners, before you take action on this, I did want to point something out. While the committee has the ability to elect their officers, they do not have the ability to appoint or remove people who are on that committee. I think that maybe was just a miscommunication or maybe a misinterpretation of their bylaws. So while in the minutes it notates that they removed a person and appointed another person, they cannot do that. That particular position would be an appointment by the Board of County Commissioners. So if the board would like to formalize what they've done, they could. However, I would point out that I do believe that Jim Anderson, who is an employee of the county, does not meet the requirements per the appointments and bylaws. So it would have to be somebody who's a member of a commercial business that would have to fill that position. So just wanted to point that out to you.
Okay.
So
Well,
do we need to approve and forward? Well, no, can't do that without having members or any changes to KDHE. So do we have other people that are willing to serve? I mean, I know it's tough to get people to serve on these boards.
Or Mark, could we remove the person that apparently has not been there for a long time? I think that's the reason they brought that, and then have them bring us back another one, like Doug is saying. Could we do one and not wait a week to do the other?
I think that you could approve their minutes and approve their appointment of their officers, because that should be consistent with the bylaws. And you could definitely remove the person who hasn't attended for like 10 years, I think, maybe 9, and then open it up to find somebody to fill that. I think you can do those today.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
So are we basically tabling the members, the committee members' appointments to a later date? Do we get somebody? Do we have a couple weeks? It's going to take.
Is it just
run a
that?
notice in the paper?
Again, since it's an appointment by the Board of County Commissioners, we can work with Tammy to find somebody who would be eligible and willing to serve and bring that back to you. We can put something in the paper, but this particular position is probably pretty challenging because it's limited to a commercial provider in Leavenworth County.
But the motion is stating, Mark, that we can approve what we
Right, so you
said,
can- yeah.
and we only have to come back for one. I think that's what the question was.
Yep.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. I'll begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Fulton.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Vote aye. Okay. We need to consider a motion to approve the increase to the TARP fee as presented. Did everybody have an opportunity to read?
Yes, members of the County Commission, the Solid Waste Committee met, and as everyone's aware, getting people to TARP is sometimes a little bit of a challenge, and a lot of times the first thing we get is, well, I don't have a TARP. Well, Tammy and the staff out at the Solid Waste, out at the transfer station, did a lot of great research, and what we found is a lot of other municipalities and a lot of other transfer stations utilize the opportunity to actually provide them a TARP, what as included as part of the fee. So just for an example, we were able to determine that if we raised our TARP fee from $5 to $10, that we could provide a TARP and bungees for that amount that will essentially recapture the same $5 fee and then also provide a TARP in about that same amount. Just for an example, I brought a TARP and a set of bungees that I was able to pick up at Harbor Freight for about $6. So, I mean, what we're trying to do is encourage everyone to use a TARP, and so when they show up at the gate, we say, oh, you're not TARP, then we would charge them the TARP fee and then provide them a TARP and bungees, and hopefully that will, both encourage and then, take away the excuse, I guess, of not
I
having.
appreciate that. That's a very proactive.
Well, thank Tammy. Tammy really did all the work on it.
Great.
She figured
Thank
it
you,
out.
Tammy.
Lucky you have Harbor Freight in Lansing.
I'll second that.
They will sell you a TARP and bungees.
So
All right,
anybody
well.
in need of a TARP and bungees, you know where to go now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Madam Chair, I move to approve the increase of the TARP fee as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second. I'll begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Colson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Tammy.
Okay. Now we need to consider a motion to grant an exception on a track split with proposed angled lot line.
Miss one.
You missed one. You see.
Oh.
Vicky, see.
I missed
Mark, you've already
C.
marked it.
Oh,
You did what I used to do.
to sign the county policy on monuments. Oh, that one. Okay. Sorry. Thank you. Come on up and let's do this.
Mark?
Commissioners, you have before you a policy in regards to placement of historical markers or commemorations or monuments on county-owned property. You had asked a committee to review this. The committee met, reviewed it, presented this policy to the committee, and this language was approved unanimously by the members of the committee. If this policy is approved, the Director of Buildings and Grounds and myself will finalize an application, so we make sure we gather all the information that's contemplated in here.
Doctor?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the sign and monument marker commemoration placement policy.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
And just
Any discussion?
open discussion part of it is something that should be outlined is this is strictly for outside groups that want to place monuments on the property. It is not covering if the county commission itself decides that we want to place a monument for any specific commemoration. That is still within the purview and the power and authority of the county commissioners.
Correct. Any other Clarifications or discussion? We have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Doug Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Mike Smith.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Okay, now we are at, let's consider a motion to grant an exception on a track split with a proposed angled lot line for case number DEV 22-162, Murr track split located at 25479 Dempsey Road.
Good morning, Commissioners. As mentioned, this is a request for an exception from a track split. Track splits are normally administrative processes that are reviewed by staff and approved. However, in this instance, we have a proposed track split that doesn't quite meet the regulations as they currently are administered. So before you is a request to grant an exception to allow for that deviation from Article 50, Section 40.3.d, which pertains to lot lines being 90 degrees from the street right-of-ways. So if you have any other questions, let me know. I know we've discussed this in the past.
To make a motion that we.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
So we are changing the policy.
Staff is currently working on a rough draft for consideration at a future date.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we grant an exception on a track split with a proposed angle to the line for case DEV 22-162 Murr track split located at 25479 Dempsey Road.
Motion to have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. I'll begin voting.
Well, it's got a little discussion. I
any
need to
other discussion?
disclose,
Okay.
on this particular track split, we are changing the policy. I need to disclose that I have a family member that works for the company that these folks own. But, I mean, we're changing the policy. I believe we understand that we don't need a stricter policy for a track split than we do a plat. So if you'd like for me to recuse myself, I will, but I'm just disclosing that.
I don't think that
It's up to you.
causes a
Okay.
personal
I'm
conflict,
just
but that's,
getting it out there. All right.
anybody else have anything? Okay, you want to do, want to entertain a motion?
Already done. Just read it.
Oh,
we got a motion and a
we got it.
second.
Okay, motion and a second. We'll begin with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
I vote aye. Okay. Now we need to consider a motion to approve Resolution 23-4, a special use permit for Whiskey Ridge Event Center.
All right. Again, before you is a request for a special use permit. You guys, this might be familiar to you. The special use permit is an event center that will be called Whiskey Ridge if approved. They had recently applied for a special use permit. I believe it was in 2020. It went through the process. It got approved. However, shortly after, we were notified that that application was going to be canceled. In the interim, a agricultural building permit was submitted to our office. It was approved. And then we were notified in, I believe it was November of 2022, that they actually would like to proceed with that event center, which is why this application is before you guys again. The event center would hold up to 300 occupants at a time. It's primarily going to be for weddings or events like weddings. So most of those events will take place during the weekends. They do anticipate some smaller type events during weekdays, but not nearly to the capacity that they'll see on weekends. They are requesting that the event center stay open from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Staff is recommending on the conditions that all operations would have to be done and completed by 12, so that would be allow for some cleanup after the event has ceased. They will have a kitchen in the facility, however, it's not a commercial kitchen, so their clients would be the ones that would have to go out and hire caterers and bartenders, but they would be allowed on site and they would have the ability to at least serve from that facility. They are also proposing that they do have the option of having ceremonies outside. But Again, they had indicated that this would only be for the ceremonies, that the actual receptions would take place indoors. They are proposing that there should be 4 full-time employees and then additional seasonal employees as needed for these events to occur. Other than that, there was a question about the structure, because it was already built before they applied, and whether or not it meets the 2006 International Property Building Codes. We did receive a report that says that the foundation of that structure does meet the code. However, staff is recommending, and the Planning Commission is recommending, that they submit a report that shows that the rest of the structure meets the code as well. The Planning Commission did consider this item on January 11th. They voted 8-0 with 1 absent to recommend approval of the special use permit with the conditions as presented.
I didn't understand what you just said. You said that they have inspected and approved, but then they needed to be reword that to me again.
They submitted an engineering report for the foundation of the structure, which shows that the foundation does meet the 2006 building codes. They have not submitted a report for the remainder of the structure.
Just the foundation.
Just
only.
the foundation.
Okay.
I believe they do have that report, though. I mean, can we ask questions of the applicant at this time?
Yes. We have an affidavit from our contractor stating that it was built to 2006 standards. I don't believe an actual report or inspection has been done, but we can get that done without a problem.
And that's what you're asking for, is that inspection? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Corson, did you have something?
Nope.
So the building's going to be built to the 2006 standards?
Correct.
All right.
What is their fire suppression plan?
That would be a part of that report. If they need a fire suppression system, that would have to be included. But that would be determined again from the engineering inspection.
We have had that inspected by the Stranger Fire Department. We do not have sprinklers there. We have been told that we have 8 fire exits, 2 of them 14-inch or 14-foot garages. We were told that by the fire department that since rural water district does not support that, that it would not be necessary safety-wise. It would not be a safety issue. We have put in a fire lane in front of the building in case of emergencies.
I toured the facility on Monday, I believe. Like I said, there's 8 exits in the building. 2 of them are glass overhead garage doors on each end of the building. It's a wide open venue, wide open barn.
So if it's determined that the 2006 rules do require that, you would comply with that?
We've already put a substantial amount of money into this, and depending on what that would cost us, I mean, if we had to do that, it would probably cost us a considerable delay.
I don't know what the rules require, but we did implement these.
Well, and there's square footage, so much square footage, so many occupants that nobody's going to be staying in there or sleeping in there. It's wide open.
Mark, do you have anything to say on
Any
this?
pyrotechnic bands in there that shoot fireworks or anything? I wouldn't think.
Which will not be allowed, of course.
Anything, Mr. Lawfrey?
Well, Commissioners, I think in your staff report, it does state that they believe that a fire suppression system would be required per 2006 building code. So we do need that report from an engineer that states either it was built to code or that it is somehow exempt from that code. In the International Building Code, not that I am an expert, so just take that for what it is, but I don't believe that increased exits can offset the requirement for sprinklers. pipes, which is something that, again, their expert would have to review and sign, a licensed engineer would have to sign off on, stating it would pass code. As we've learned on other SUPs here recently, I think it's important that either one, we have everything in place before approval of the SUP, or that if you were going to grant the approval, that it be conditional approval, not actual approval.
So how many other, we'll call them wedding venues or event centers, do we have out there that do not have sprinkler systems in?
Probably a few dozen, I would guess, but they weren't built, or they were built prior to us adopting building codes.
We would not have a problem getting that report to you.
So if we approved it today, we could approve it conditional upon the receipt of that report and compliance with that.
I would recommend that you table it until you have the document versus having the conditional approval, if that's a possibility.
Yeah. I worried about this when we passed our building codes. I mean, originally we passed our building codes from the Linwood tornado when folks couldn't get their houses built back and the insurance company paid to bring them up to current codes because we didn't have any codes. I mean, this one here almost looks like a little bit of overkill. I mean, it's a wide open building, plenty of exits. I mean, it's a barn built there. It used to be an old barn there and they tore it down, I believe, and rebuilt
Yes.
this one. It's not like they rebuilt the Hindenburg airship, so I mean, I don't see it's unsafe.
I just have one. I think, just my opinion speaking, they've volunteered to do that report for us and get that back to us. I would like to see that report before, and then if we have to have a discussion on exemptions or things that other commissioners are talking about, I could look at it, Tim. But I'd sure like to see that report first. And you said you'd provide that to us?
I would be happy to provide that. I would also like to leave here today with approval to go on with our event plans that we have planned for this winter.
So if we conditionally approved it, whatever the
I
rules
can have
are,
a
you're
report
going
to
to
you.
comply with whatever the engineer says. You're going to comply with
Absolutely.
it. And
We want this to
so
be safe for
you just want to
our
be able to
patrons.
move ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we do delay, I don't think it should be more than a week or two.
Well, Mark, I agree. I'm not saying, I think the event center out there is a great idea. I just feel more comfortable if I could see the report. And if there is some hiccup in the report, then we could talk about it to make sure we can keep going. I'd like to see it within a week or 2 weeks too, if possible. I just have a concern that we're approving something, even though we've done it.
Is that okay if we come back in 2 weeks, or would you be able
I
to?
can have a report to you by the end of the week.
So you think next
That's what I
week?
would like to say. If everybody else is okay with that. And you're okay with that.
You want to table it till next week, and then
We can do that.
We'll do this?
Yes.
Okay. Motion
Is that a
to-
motion?
Yeah, motion?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you in a week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's right, you weren't a building codes person.
Nope. I was going to make a motion, but I know it wouldn't get a second.
I saw them looking at you. Okay.
Okay, presentations and discussion items are next. Let's go with quarterly report, solid waste. Tammy?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I've had a cough that won't go away. I'm not sick, but the more I talk, the more I cough. So I have my water, my cough drops, but
I've got
I'm not going to,
I got the same. I had the flu and I came down and I cannot shake the cough.
I can't either. It's driving me crazy. So I'm not going to bore you with reading over the whole thing I already submitted. I'm just going to go over the highlights. We processed 5,000 less tons over last year. We've seen an increase in tire drop-off. In 2021, we processed 78 tons of tires, and it increased to 94 tons of tires in 2022. I believe it's going to be even more next year because so far Robbie has received several calls on how to dispose of 40 to 80 tires at a time. So I don't know where these are coming up through the ground at, but they're out there.
Tammy, in the past, we did that thing through K-State. Is that an option again, where they did that?
The grant where they have not offered that yet, but I was going to reach out to them because, like I said, we have seen such an increase. So I'm going to reach out and see if that's something they even plan.
May not still do it.
Yeah. We've seen an increase from 5 tons to 6 tons in free brush, an increase in the annual cleanup residents by 17, but only 2 tons. We've seen a decrease in HHW appointments, finally, from 1,257 to 1,233. So I don't know, maybe all the firms are finally getting cleaned up. In December, Schwinn had to come out. We had a burnt wire in the main scale house, and it shut down everything. So we are so thankful for that second scale because we ran everything through that in and outbound. So there was no decrease in service. And Aaron was on it. They were out there and had it fixed like within an hour and a half or something. But and we didn't have to guess weights, which is what happened pre-second scale. Sawana reported that solid waste has seen a historical drop in 2021 for injury and illness, and they've added a goal of getting solid waste workers off the list of the 10 most dangerous jobs in their strategic plan. So that's a positive, too. But that's what's going on in my world.
Anybody have any?
Just that we needed that second scale like in 1996.
Yeah. It's paying now.
It's there now.
I know. It's unbelievable it took that long.
I know one of the things that we've probably harped on this several times, but the last thing on Tammy's report talks about that prior to the second scale, the average wait time was 53 minutes on a Saturday. After it's 12 minutes.
Yeah.
And had handled 20 more customers.
That's just fantastic.
So,
that really is.
That's a major improvement.
Yeah.
Now, so we're going to have newbies on the floor because I have one retiring at the end of this month and my main operator. And then my second main operator is leaving in April because his wife is in the service and they're going back home. So we're going to be training some new people, so the wait time might increase a couple minutes.
Well, that's all right. That's a learning curve.
Yep.
That's to be expected whenever you have a turnover. So
Yeah, and we have the new one on board, and we're going hard and strong with him, and I think it's going to work out just fine.
We're lucky to get applicants.
Yeah.
So no, that sounds great. Anybody have anything else for Tammy?
No, I'm glad KDHE's happy and it's all good over there.
Life is good, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Have
All
a
right,
good day.
thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Tammy.
Aaron, you're up. Mr. Yoakum, welcome.
Morning, Commissioners. So, we had some VAV box issues and some balancing issues in the courthouse, which we were working through on our static duct pressure. We had a roof leak over at Community Corrections, the old JDC building. That census should be taken care of. We rounded out the end of December with a frozen pipe in the second scale house, a frozen sprinkler system at the annex and on Laming Road, and a condensate pump froze at EMS Station 1. That was an awesome Christmas Eve. Cushing Building, besides us working through our parking lot and finding suitors for the additional floors, Crisis Stabilization has their grand opening to the public, ribbon cutting today. K-State and Council on Aging are having a joint ribbon cutting and going through. Your signage for the Council on Aging is complete. We're working through signage for public hallways to denote where you need to turn and which way we need to go for Council on Aging and K-State Extension, and then for future use of second and third, fourth floor. Honeywell is still working on getting us our controllers for 2 areas in Council on Aging. The 2-pipe system has become one that we're working to control heat and cool. The solution that we've come to is adding a duct in the duct, using the outside air to control temperatures. Since it's a 2-pipe system, you're either in heat or in cool. Justice Center, we're working on a plan for the Sallyport replacement as a capital improvement project for 23, as if you've been over there in that Sallyport, time has taken its toll on it. The Justice Center also, we're looking at our Cleaver Brooks boilers. We did some refractor work on it at the end of last year. I will start planning on the end-of-life replacement of those boilers in the Justice Center. We're working on adding carpet to the upstairs, finishing off the 4th floor and the judges' areas. And our sewer districts are doing well. We'll have a sludge test in spring out off of Highcrest. Questions, comments, concerns?
Always concerns about sludge test. So what happens if it comes back that we're near end of life?
Well, on a sludge test, once we find out what our depth is on sludge, we can roll down to a 2-cell system and clean one, which happens. That face is the same one I'm making. They can't see it on the camera, though. The City of Lansing's length from Lansing High School out to where we're looking at Highcrest, if they were to happen to put their new swimming pool that they projected out at Kenneth Bernard, that'd be great for us.
Right.
That'd be great for us, but I don't see them putting that there.
No, it's not going there.
So.
Okay. We got to clean one of them. That's not going to be cheap.
The sewer districts are self-sufficient, sir. That would be one of the...
Well, I know they'll be self-sufficient. I know they are, but I can't imagine what the increase would be.
The cost of living in the area you choose to live in.
I know, but I think when that was put in, everybody thought Lansing would be out there with sewer by then.
That's what happens when you...
It is, I know.
The best laid
Well,
plans.
they wanted to hook us up about 15 years ago, but they didn't want to be annexed into the city. And we weren't going to do that unless they came into the city.
Right.
It's also
Perfect
over a
sense.
ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, your
Lift station. Or
Right. No, the topo's not.
Yeah. Anything to the sewer district or sewers, period, no matter where you're at, is expensive nowadays, outrageous. So, Doug, you're absolutely right.
Hopefully it'll be all right.
Anybody have anything else for Aaron? Thank you, and I guess we'll see you this afternoon. You are going to come to the...
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's what I'm
Thank
The
you.
committee meeting for
Yeah, we
RFPs
have
for
that
our...
also.
Oh, yes.
Cutting.
Yes.
This is huge.
See you at 11 and then
Thank you.
see you at 1. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay. Executive session to discuss
Okay.
attorney-client privileges.
All right. Now, are we, you need 30 minutes? Are we going to be able to be briefed on any additional
Commissioner, 30
lawsuits?
minutes should be adequate.
Okay. And Madam Chair, I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 754319B2 for the consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume meeting at 10:05 in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioners Culverson, Cause, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, and Commissioner Stevens. Senior County Counselor David Van Perry's and County Administrator Mark Lawford.
Second.
Motion and second. Begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Aye.
And we're
Let the
back.
record show the board has returned to regular session at 10:05. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county.
All right, now, we don't have any additional comments, so let's start with Commissioner Smith. Do you have anything for us?
Let's see. Basher City Council last Wednesday, Fairmount Township Board last Thursday, and then also Thursday attended JCAB with Commissioner Cause in Atchison.
Commissioner Stevens?
I had lunch with Jeremy Greenmere from LCDC, and it was really interesting to get his perspective on all of the economic development efforts of the county. He's a really sharp guy. Went to the KAC Government Day last week in Topeka. And I guess the next one's called County Day. Was that
I
the?
think it's
It's a
a Capitol.
case.
The difference is it's actually at the Capitol versus
We were right beside the Capitol, but yeah. So that's I'm going to attend that one on let's see,
9th of February, I believe.
yeah. So, and I'm going to go to the open house this afternoon.
Oh, that's right.
Commissioner Culverson, you have anything?
Last Thursday, I met with several folks from Fort Leavenworth, including Colonel Meisenheimer, about pilot checks and going over some other issues like paying help pay for EMS services. You know, we provide the ambulance service on Fort Leavenworth. That's a tax-funded department that Fort Leavenworth doesn't pay any property tax, so. We talked about issues like that. That went pretty well. Also, they're talking about some grants in lieu of pilot checks. So we're working on that with our grant writers, Merchant McIntyre, to possibly get some federal grants to replace what we're not getting in pilot checks. I had a Mark 911 communications meeting. I went across the street and did a Zoom meeting with Wendy. She's our local representative for the 911 system that Mark actually assists Leavenworth County with. Then I had a phone conversation with Senator Tyson about an hour long that started out about the LAVTR funds. There's a thought process now at the state level that wants to do away completely with the LAVTR from the beginning, so they don't even want to collect it up front. With the alcohol, cigarette, vehicle tags, fees that the LAVTR is coming from that we collect at the county, turn it over to the state, and then the state just doesn't give it back to us. So now their idea is just don't collect it up front. So
Go back to the old way.
So
their thought is that $6 out of somebody's pocket is going to just stay in their pocket. And I told her I don't like that idea because people aren't going to notice the $6 in their pocket, but we could use that directly to offset property taxes. That's what the LAVTR was originally designed for. That's why it's called local ad valorem tax relief. It's to switch more of the weight off of property tax onto sales tax. If you do away with it completely, then that idea goes out the window. So then we got to talking about income tax. Did you have something, Doug, you want to say?
Well, on
about
that, if they do change the law, that means the law that was on the books was good, so we should get our back pay.
There's
They
that,
exempted themselves, though.
that
They voted
conversation
every
too.
year to.
Every 3 years, they pass a law that they don't have to follow the law. Yeah. So then we talked about switching the weight onto income tax. If we went to an income tax, that would catch some of the lack of pilot checks for Leavenworth because everybody that gets a paycheck would pay, if it's 1 cent or whatever it is, which I think is the right track. It's a much fairer way to tax people if you the problem with property tax is it doesn't matter if you and your wife are able to afford a $500,000 house while you're both working. When one of you passes away and you retire and there's only one income on a fixed income, you can't afford that $500,000 house anymore. So we're taxing people out of their house. Income tax would only tax people that are making the money. If you don't make as much money, you don't pay as much tax. Sales tax is a better way, I think, a more fair way, because it taxes, there's 90,000 people in Leavenworth County, they all pay sales tax, but there's only 30,000 parcels in Leavenworth County. That means only 30,000 people are paying the bills. Sales tax gets all 90,000 people, plus it gets people coming through. So people passing through town buying something pay sales tax. So income tax and sales tax, I feel, are the answer to relieving property tax. And so that was our discussion with Senator
So
Tyson.
it'd be like an earnings tax, but
Yeah.
go for property tax relief.
Yeah, the more you make, the more tax you pay. The less you make, the less
Kinda
you
like
pay.
Kansas City, Missouri has the earnings
Right.
tax to subsidize streets and.
But the bigger picture is it's more people. So everybody pays a little instead of a few people paying a lot.
Well, the problem with I see with that is there's a federal statute that allows like military folks, they can decide what state they're going to have their residency in. So if we try to go after them with an income tax that's higher, they're going to just put their residency in Tennessee or Texas.
Actually, that
But if
doesn't
you're
work in
working-
this
Doesn't work.
case.
Doesn't work
It's a
that
payroll
way.
tax.
Yeah,
It's
Direct
considered a
payroll tax?
it's
yeah.
where
So
you
I thought you
pay.
said income tax.
It is
It
a form of
is.
income
It's
tax, but it's called
payroll.
payroll
Where your
tax.
checks is.
Kansas City, Missouri does it.
Right.
When traveling, like when the New York Yankees come to Royals and play for 3 days or whatever, they take their salary for that 3 days and they have to pay the tax on it because they earned it while they were in the city. We're not allowed to do that in Kansas. They can do it in Missouri.
So currently we're not allowed to do that.
Right.
Okay.
Not till we get a major sports team here with that gambling money.
The Chiefs coming over.
I don't know who's coming over. We got 10%, so we can.
Well, we
throw
have
out.
one major sports team,
Yeah.
the Sporting KC.
Right.
But obviously, the payroll there is probably not what the Chiefs or Royals pay.
Probably
We've
not.
got the Monarchs.
Probably not.
That's all I got.
I just got one Friday up here at 9:20. The Lansing Leavenworth Leadership Class from the Chamber. I'll be talking to the students for about 30 minutes, giving them what happens in the county and trying to answer any question if I can.
So they did get hold of you to confirm? Okay.
Holly called me.
Yeah, no, I just kind of
Yeah.
pass it along, said,
Yeah.
no, this is who you think.
Yeah. The lady that we spoke to, she's in Florida, and I said, wait, I'll skip out. So Holly called me yesterday to confirm.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And all the folks that got it set up for the PowerPoint that I can do up there, so I appreciate their help on that in here.
No, she called me and I said, no, I think that you need to talk to Mike Smith.
Yeah,
So that
she got
was-
a hold of me yesterday.
Okay, good. All right, well, I had the KCATA board meeting Wednesday afternoon after this meeting. It was only 4.5 hours, score. And
I can't take it.
did the ribbon cutting for the Wilcott Brewing Company on Saturday, which was very nice and well attended. And I also attended the Women's Division of the Chamber of Commerce with Register of Deeds last week. And I think that's it. So does anybody have anything else they would like to bring forth? If
Are
not,
we all attending today? Everybody going to be at the?
I'm going to try. I've
well,
got
I
a
know that
thing.
Mark and I are.
Well, I'll be there.
I may not be in Canton. I got something in Canton. I'm going to make every effort.
Okay.
Let's put it like that.
All right.
But I know the reason you're saying so. Everyone will know we're, as a group, we're there more than the two of us. Yeah.
Okay. Mark, you have anything else you'd like to bring?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion is second. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.